right, we're up. This is the Hour Time with Troy by North Alabama's podcast. And sitting before me is, this is a lesson in life for those of you who don't understand. Like, you might know people who know someone and you don't really realize the connection until later. And then you're kind of hopeful, like, oh boy, I hope I never said anything bad about this particular person because I had no idea that they were friends with, in this case, Megan Nivens-Tannett, who's been on the show twice, John Schmidt, who's been on the show once, and a few other people.
Yeah.
And then for whatever reason, it might have just been because your name changed from Amanda Pope to Amanda Hooten, that sometimes, you meet a lot of people in life, and I know a lot of Amandas, and it finally dawned on me, oh my gosh, I should have been on your Ragnar team.
Yeah.
And I would have been.
You were going to be. And
we would have been, those related to this podcast, 25% of the team would have had something to do with, maybe more than 25%. It would have been like 33% of the team would have been, former guests and myself. But so Amanda Hooten is here from Blaze Solutions.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. You doing well today?
I'm doing great, other than traffic, which is always a nightmare coming out to Madison. But, that's just the story of Huntsville nowadays.
Yeah, I guess people were complaining about it 4 years ago when I showed up, and I was like, this is nothing. It's starting to become something.
You've really only been here 4 years?
Yeah.
Wow. For some reason, I was thinking you'd been here a lot longer.
No,
that's crazy.
Moved here at the end of 21. Real short story. And I was just talking to my wife about this. I came to the Cyber Summit.
Okay.
September of 2021 as a favor. I was working at CIA, and someone from the FBI side of our company is like, hey, you need to come down and meet the FBI and talk to their customers because there's all this work moving. I'm like, yeah, okay, I've been to Huntsville. I went golfing there once. Yeah. And it was in the back of my mind of places that potentially I could live in the country.
Sure.
And so I came. And I came home from that trip on October 1st. And I said, Wendy, we are moving.
We out.
And I have a whole plan related to this.
How did Wendy feel about that?
Oh, she was ecstatic.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we had both been kind of like looking at, like I was looking at Colorado, way too expensive. Maybe Charleston, South Carolina, trying to find somewhere that like there's enough government contracting work. Should, whatever, I need to get a new job, I would be okay. I have a clearance. Would I still be able to use it? Anyway, so that was October 1. We were moved in, had our house sold and everything by December 20.
Oh, my gosh.
We sold our house. It was on the market by October 15th.
That's crazy fast.
And it was sold, and we did a rent back. It was sold by like mid-November. Wow. She came by herself because I was the PM of this big program, probably a little bit bigger than the one in Dynetics that we'll talk about. And my deputy, his wife had a baby.
Okay.
And so like I couldn't leave. Like normally it would be like, no problem, man. I'm going. Like I came to the conference, he took over, and then his wife has a baby, and we're trying to find a house. So I sent her on a plane, and she looked at like 25 homes on a Friday.
Oh my gosh.
Put an offer on one, and because the market was moving quick. Yeah. And we got it.
That's incredible. And is it the house you're in now? So you've been in the same one the entire time you've been here?
Yeah, I never saw it. And I saw pictures, but I trusted her.
Yeah. I mean, you would hope so. You'd hope you trust your wife to make that decision, right? So. And
it was just so fun to I came here two times on business before we closed on the house.
Okay.
And just to I was at Space and Rocket Center, the Marriott, and I just drive over here, and I ran the Bradford Creek Trail one morning. And I would just sit in front of the house, like on the street, and just kind of stare at it.
I'm coming. I was like, I'll be there soon.
And I started the podcast in April of 21.
Okay.
And
wow.
Then, so there you go.
That's great. For some reason, I thought you'd been here a lot longer. Maybe just because of the way Megan had talked about you, and because she just thinks the world of you. So maybe I just assumed y'all had known each other. But Megan's also the type of person that once you meet her, you've known her forever. Yeah. Right. So it kind of makes it a little bit easier in that way because she's just great like that.
Well, I guess in part of what I was talking about earlier, you never know when someone knows somebody. You're like, oh man, I wonder what Amanda really thinks about me. Yeah. Based on what John and Megan have said, oh, that guy's crazy,
No.
He's got this dumb podcast.
No, I'm actually a little sad now that I just remembered that you were originally on our Ragnar team.
Yeah.
And then we ended up having to have an alternate because something happened and you ended up not being able to.
I'm not asking. I paid for that. I never got paid back, but that's okay.
Oh, no.
No, that's okay. But now what happened was my grandson had been born and they moved into here.
Okay.
And I started traveling. I stopped doing the podcast. It was just like
it was just too much.
It was a weird, it was just like I just can't do this. I can't
it happens.
Commit.
It happens.
So some guy took my spot.
Well, yes. And we had a wonderful time. Ragnar was amazing. I've done 2 of them now, both with Megan. I don't know that I would just do any Ragnar. I think who you're with very much matters.
Yeah.
But it was one of the most fun physical things I've ever done in my life because I'm not a huge runner. I do like to run, but I'm more of like a 5K kind of girl. And Megan had this crazy idea and like, oh, you should do this. It'll be so great. You can totally do it. You can just have, the shortest legs. You can go as slow as you need to go.
And you went 17 miles, didn't you?
Yeah. For one of them, I did. No, not all at once, thankfully. It got broken up, right? But one of them was in the pouring down rain the entire time, which I think I've run in the rain once ever because I'm a big baby. And so it was an absolute incredible experience. Just the camaraderie that you feel, the accomplishment that you get after the fact. I actually have a tattoo that is on my inner ankle now that is the Ragnar symbol.
Yeah.
Specifically because I was just so proud of myself for saying, I'm going to do this and then actually doing it. Yeah. So it was incredible.
It has to be one of my favorite logos.
Yeah, it is. It's a very cool logo. So I have people ask me all the time what that is. So I was like, it's Ragnar. Look it up. That's all I'll say.
So you did the one in Boston, right? Mm-hmm. And then what was the other one?
Reach the Beach. So they're both in that like kind of area of the country. So the Reach the Beach was really fun other than running on the actual beach, which was all rocks. And I basically had to walk because I was going to break an ankle because I am not graceful at all.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So those who don't know Ragnar, so with the road version, you have 2 vans. You have 12 people on your team, 6 people in each van.
Yep.
Hopefully a van. Otherwise, you're going to be like packed like sardines.
Yeah.
And it's like a leapfrog thing, right? Mm-hmm. Like team 1 drops off runner 1.
Yep.
And then they go to the let's say the runner 1's 5 miles. They drive 5 miles, wait for runner 1. They drop off runner 2. And then you do that for 200 miles.
Yeah.
About 30 hours. So sleeping is interesting. I remember I did the road one from Cumberland, Maryland to DC.
Okay.
And we slept in like a church parking lot or church, like the yard of a church, like some old church, just in the, in the lawn.
Okay.
For, I don't know, like 2 hours maybe.
Wow. See, we went a bougie route.
Did you?
We did. We went a bougie route for both of the ones that we did. And they were very, very smart. And they found an Airbnb that was kind of centrally located for the entire race. And so our van would go, we would do our 6 legs, and then we would go back to the Airbnb. We would shower or get in the hot tub, which was key for recovery. Let me tell you what.
You cheaters.
Right, we did completely. And I will own that all the time. Like, so somebody says Ragnar, I was like, we did not sleep on the ground. We were not in the church parking lot. I had a shower the entire time if I wanted one.
That road version was kind of like circular, maybe?
So it wasn't really circular. It was I would say C-esque.
Okay.
Like it kind of made a C.
Okay.
And so, Kim, who was our captain, Kim Hansen, she was amazing. And she did all the research and looked up all these Airbnbs and found like, okay, so from this one, it'll be this long and this one, it'll be this long. And so, for our last leg, we had to drive almost 2 hours to get there. So the last leg wasn't great as far as actual time sleeping. But that being the last one, the other 2 times that we actually got to go back to the Airbnb and rest and recuperate and whatever made a big difference.
Yeah.
Big difference.
There was some school, I guess they had it, like, we chose to do that. Like, just because I guess we just couldn't, like, estimate where we were going to be.
Yeah.
And then there was, like, a school or some, I think it was a school. And it was kind of near where I used to go snowboarding in like, Maryland, where they kind of felt like, okay, leg 1 and leg 2 are going to most likely will all congregate there. And so people were, I don't remember if they were taking showers maybe like in the school locker rooms and different things and, get something to eat.
Yeah.
But we just kind of like, let's just do our own thing.
Yeah.
And that's what we did.
And a lot of people did. And we had there were some that had like the huge Sprinter vans, which was madness to me. I thought that was crazy. We just had like, a Honda Odyssey kind of thing, right? And so it smelled horrible and it was trashed by the end of it. And but we had a great time. I highly recommend it. It is an experience I will never ever forget for sure.
Last thing on Ragnar, I've done the trail version though, like 3 times.
Okay.
Which was cool because you'd run the loops and come back to camp.
Yeah.
So at least there you get a chance to, but the road version is better in the sense that you get more camaraderie with your team.
Yes, you do. And I will say, for me as a female, one of the most powerful things I felt was part of the Ragnar Road is you have to run the race in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And so now we have an option that you're allowed to have a buddy that can go with you if you're not comfortable doing it by yourself.
Yeah.
And so the first time I did it, I was like, I'm going to try this and see how I feel about it. And it was this incredibly powerful moment of you. It is literally you. And at the time, like I said, I'm slow. I'm not a fast runner. I was the only one on the road for a good portion of that, right? And I got my light up vest and I'm just chugging along, right? And so, but it felt so incredible to be out in the middle of the night, to be on my own. And the only person I'm against right now is me in that road.
Yeah.
And that was so incredibly powerful as an individual to just feel that and know what that felt like. And then the funniest part to me was like, you would have these guys who are super fast who would come up from behind you, and they're this running community. They're just the best, the absolute best. They'll come up from behind you super fast. Hey, I'm coming up. You okay? You doing okay? You need me to hang out with you? You all right? You got everything you need? And then away they go, right? And it just felt really cool to have that community that just shows up for you. That guy didn't know me from anybody, right? And I could have said, I'm scared or I don't want to be, and they would have stayed. I have no doubt that they would have absolutely slowed down their pace to make sure that we were comfortable doing what we were doing. And so that was just so cool to me to be able to experience that because I'm not much of a runner. Yeah. And now I'm finding that is absolutely the norm in the running community, right? So. And
the only sinister thing they do is they mark you as a kill because they passed you.
They did. Which, you know what? I was totally fine with that. And I will say I was very excited because in the second Ragnar, not the first one, the second one, I did get 2 kills. So I was very excited to be able to have any at all because, again, I'm not a fast runner by any means.
Well, it's really neat when you're running in the middle of the night and you do see that light in front of you. And I remember I'm going to run them down. Let me get my kill here. Yeah.
Yeah. I never had that thought, for the record. Gotcha. I was like, good job, dude.
Now try running through the woods in the middle of the night. You're like, whoo, I hope there's no snakes awake right now.
Yeah. And I am not a graceful individual. Yeah. I am not. And
you have to watch every step.
And that's the thing. I think I would just be running like completely looking at the ground the entire time. I don't know that would be fun for me.
It's a rush. I did step in it wasn't quicksand, but I stepped in some really sturdy mud and it just ripped my shoe off in the middle of the night.
Oh my gosh.
And my AirPod went flying. And so then I had to collect, I'm like, where's my shoe?
Find everything.
Pull it out of the thing and find my AirPod. And it was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. See, that doesn't sound fun to me. I'll stick to the Ragnar Road. I'm good. Thank you.
I just never really know how these things are going to start.
Yeah.
And I knew we would talk about Ragnar, and we'll probably, we might even circle back. I'll show some pictures later, but I love talking about Ragnar.
Yeah, I do too.
But you know what I'd like to do with you? I'd like to start in Youngstown, Ohio.
Okay.
If you're okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk about that a little bit. In fact, I have a map of Ohio. I want to bring this up. And
okay.
as we can talk about Youngstown, where you were born, but we can also talk about all of your travels. So here's Ohio. I don't know if you can see this too well.
A little bit.
So up here is this for a few reasons. So here's Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. And that's relevant because here's Youngstown, and then Cleveland's there.
Yep.
So you have 2 NFL teams, and you're a Pittsburgh fan.
I am a Pittsburgh fan. So
did you have a choice in that, or was this forced upon you?
Well, a little bit of both. But I will say this: growing up was the Steel Curtain was my time of growing up, and I like to win. So given the option between the Browns, and the Steelers, growing up, I'm always going to go with the Steelers because they were winning, right? And consistently winning very well at that time frame. So, but my dad is definitely a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. And he would have still loved me if I was a Browns fan. Let's be real, but it would have been a lot harder.
Did you have friends that were Browns fans?
Oh my gosh.
Family members?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And even to this day, I would say Youngstown, where I grew up, we are almost 50-50. It is one or the other, kind of how Alabama and Auburn is here. And interestingly enough, when I moved down here, everybody kept asking me who my team was. and they would laugh at me when I said Pittsburgh because I didn't understand college football at the time.
They're like, no, you don't understand the question.
Now I get it, and I answer appropriately, and then say I'm not much of a college football fan, and then they look at me like I'm stupid. But that's fair. But yeah, growing up, it was all one or the other. And you go to I've actually been to more football games in Cleveland Stadium than in Pittsburgh. And when you go, it is almost 50-50, even then, with the fans there. I mean, you are sitting next to some guy who is real mad about the Steelers doing well or real happy about the Steelers doing well. And so that's just kind of how it is up there.
Now, what about way down here with the Bengals? Like, are there Bengals fans in Youngstown?
So there are not many.
Okay.
It is very much a Cleveland or Pittsburgh kind of realm. Now, I also lived in Cincinnati for a while, and got a lot of crap for being a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. But I will say, from my experience in the places I have been, Pittsburgh Steelers fans travel better than just about any other NFL team. I think Dallas Cowboys is probably another one that I've seen
travels well
everywhere. Like everywhere I go, I meet Dallas fans, right?
Yeah.
But Pittsburgh, I can always find somebody. Always.
We in DC, of course, the Redskins and the Cowboys, right, or what's now the Commanders, and we would tell people that suffered from NBD disease.
NBD disease?
Yeah, that's what we call it. The NBD is like never been to Dallas,
Yeah.
but like, I'm a huge Cowboys fan. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're all over the country, right?
Everywhere. And that's been my experience with Pittsburgh. I have been able to walk into any sports bar to watch any game on a Sunday, and I have found at least 3 other 4 people who are cheering for the Steelers as well.
Yeah.
So it's always been kind of nice.
And I would say half of the DC labor market is from Pittsburgh.
Yep.
I worked with
Yep.
a ton of people from Pittsburgh, and hats out for the Steelers because they're only going to go on their 4th coach now in their history.
Yeah, which is crazy.
That's amazing.
Absolutely crazy. And to the point that I have people ask me about what I think about the new coach, and I'm like, I don't know, because I grew up with Cowher, and then we came in with Tomlin, and so I've been very spoiled. I've never paid attention to other coaches, and so this guy I'm told is great. I'm told he's done some really good things for some other teams. I'm like, cool. Let's see what he can do.
The organization will keep picking a good one, right?
Yeah, I mean it's been a rough couple of years. We haven't quite found our stride recently, so I'm excited for us to maybe try something new and see where we can go.
So what? We'll come back to that, but you have siblings?
I do. So I have a half brother who's biological, who is not somebody who's in my life anymore. And then I have 3 stepbrothers who I absolutely adore. And they've all got little babies and families. And so I really consider them my brothers. They've been in my life since I was 17, I think. So long time.
And, part of the reason I wanted to start and just kind of talk about your upbringing, I don't always do this, but I have a feeling that you have a bit of a chip on your shoulder, I think. I think you have something to prove.
Sure.
I think you and I have a lot of in common that way. And when you're able to tell your story, you want to be able to tell it because people can make whatever assumptions about you.
Yeah.
Is Blaze Solutions your father's company? And you're like, well, wait a minute, let's have a discussion here.
Yeah.
This is a story of everything you have is what you've earned.
Yes.
From the sweat of your brow, right? And your hard work. And so Youngstown's a tough place.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
I think you said a lot of poverty, a lot of drugs, crime.
Yep.
Is it even safe? Is it a safe place to even walk around?
Yeah.
Nowadays,
So now I think it's a little bit better than it used to be, depending on where you are, right? So as a kid, I moved around a lot. So I lived in actual Youngstown proper. I lived in suburbs that were a little bit nicer, usually in an apartment or with family members or that kind of thing. And so depending on where we were kind of determined how safe it was, right? Because there were definitely times, you don't go out by yourself at night. Or, one time I was 17 and my car broke down in downtown Youngstown and had to call my uncle to come get me because he was the only one available at the time. And a friend of mine's in the passenger seat with me, and he's literally looking all over the car for anything he can use as a weapon because we're just a sitting duck in downtown Youngstown, right?
Yeah.
And luckily for us, nothing happened. My uncle came and got us. We were fine, all of that. But it was a real concern growing up there that you could have that issue. And, there's a running joke, and it's not a joke, it's real. The red lights after a certain time at night in Youngstown are optional. right? Because carjackings and those kinds of things.
You don't want to stop for anything.
No, you don't. And it depends on what side of Youngstown you're on, because there are some parts of Youngstown that are great, right? But there are parts that you just keep going, keep going. So. And
were you moving because of like struggles with mom and dad, or and that kind of getting evicted and stuff like that?
Yeah. So it's kind of hard to explain, but my parents got divorced when I was 6. They're both workaholic type individuals. They both work really, really hard. But they've always been in, the restaurant industry is really what I grew up in. My dad was a chef. My mom was always front of the house. And because of that, there wasn't a whole lot of stability, because the restaurant industry is a fast one, right? And you can, you might be leaving to go to this next thing just so you can make some more money, right? And with my mom, God love her, she had some hard years, some really hard years, trying to find some footing as to where she wanted to be. And, she's been married many, many times. And so growing up, I lived with her husbands at the time until she met my stepdad. And it was really interesting because he changed everything for her. I think he was the first man that really made her believe in love. And ever since then, she's been a completely different human being as far as being settled, right? And I can kind of relate to that because a lot of my history is a lot of moving, not only from my childhood, but even as an adult. And I finally feel settled for the first time. And it's kind of crazy how my mom and I are very, very different, but we've had a lot of these moments where we've walked some of the same path as far as some of those things go, right? But my family grew up with a lot of addiction, alcohol, drugs. My brother, who's 5 years older than me, grew up with him in the house, and he was not kind. He was not. He was not good to me. He was not good to my mother. And my dad was always working and trying to make ends meet for us, which I very much appreciate, but he wasn't around a lot because of that, right? And so from a young age, I was on my own a lot. Started working as soon as I possibly could.
What was your first job?
I had a paper route. I think I was 12. I babysat before that, but I'm not sure that I really count, babysitting for your friends' kids kind of thing, right?
You got paid though, right?
True, I did. So I guess that counts. But paper route was the first one. And then what did I do after that? Oh, I worked at fairs. So I worked at a lemonade stand to start out because I was too young to be able to work the grill. So I think you had to be 14 to touch the grill at the fair. And so I made lemonade. And then when I was old enough, I started making steak sandwiches. But
that was only once a year? Or did you follow the fair around?
So I did both. So the Campville Fair is the very large fair that's in the Youngstown area every year. That's the big one. But I actually worked with a carny group and would actually travel with them.
Wow.
13, 14, 15 years old. So all over Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia. I think those are the only 3 states that we went to.
That was probably an experience.
It was wild.
You got exposed to some adult things quickly, didn't you?
Yeah. So I would say I grew up very young, very, very young. And I look back on it now and I'm actually really thankful for it, in that it has given me so much in life to be able to see and experience things at an early age that I think I am where I am today. I am as successful as I am today, because of a lot of the things I went through as a child, right? And having to grow up very quickly. So, and like in the case of that, right? I was staying in an RV with the folks that owned the concession stand, right? So, and I'm very fortunate. The people I was with were wonderful people, absolutely wonderful people. They took care of me. They made sure that I was safe and all of those things. And but yeah, I was gone most of the summer working with those fairs and making pretty good money because it was under the table, right?
Yeah,
so at the time, I wasn't even old enough to actually work. So, and then when I did get old enough, my first job was at TGI Fridays, and I was a hostess with my little red bandana, which was like a whole thing.
Your flair.
Yes, we all had to have our flair. And so I did that for a while, and then I went into Bob Evans and was a waitress there. And then when I was old enough to serve alcohol, then I started being a server for that. I also ran restaurants. I was a manager for a place called Stockyard Market for a while in Canfield, and did the whole restaurant thing for a long time. So I've kind of been all over the place, had very weird, long path of different types of jobs. I've done a little bit of everything.
Yeah. You know, I don't want to dwell on this, but like somebody like you, you know, I think a lot of what you describe in your siblings is the same with some of my siblings or people I know. And, you know, like there's so much anger in the world, and, you know, and the divided party and stuff that seems to come from, on one hand, let's say you grow up in poverty and you can't get out of it. So then you're just angry at the world because of your circumstance in a way.
Yeah.
And you hate rich people. But then somebody like you, you're already successful. You're on your way to even more success because you worked hard and whatever. And then you got those people who may say, in a way, try to take that away from you.
Yeah.
Or now you're seeing the other side of
Yeah.
like, well, okay, there's social programs on this side, but now wait a minute, I've worked really hard and I'm making money or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start thinking differently because now I'm in a different class, right?
Yeah.
But somehow, some way, there's like this root thing that just people can't get past, whatever it is, whether it's religion or the way you grew up or something. And I think that's just where that anger, in a way, comes from.
Sure.
And a lot of times, I feel like the anger just comes from those that feel like they can never have that.
Yeah.
That the other people have.
Yeah.
When you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it doesn't mean you need to be like, you know, total the jerk about it, you know, to like where you can't even have a relationship with someone.
Yeah.
Because, you know,
Well, and I deal with that a lot actually with my family, and I adore my family, my extended family. But how do I say this? They get frustrated sometimes that I left, that I don't come home very often, that I don't participate in the family in the way that my cousins and things do, who are all still there, right? And for me, I had to get out. Those family relationships are just so toxic, and I have spent many, many years in therapy. I'm still in therapy. I love therapy. I think it's the greatest thing ever. I think everybody should be in therapy, right? With a good therapist, because there are some that are not good. So make sure you find a good one. But I've worked really hard to overcome those thoughts of where I should be versus where I am, right?
Yeah.
And as far as that anger goes, you know, I can see where some people, and I've experienced this in some of my career things, where I've been very fortunate to move up the ranks very quickly. And I've had some people that have been so supportive of that. And I've had other people who've been like, she didn't put in her dues. She didn't spend enough time doing this. I had to spend 10 years doing this, and she only had to spend 2, right? And so I can understand some of that frustration, right? But also at the same time, in that case, right, if you did it the hard way and now I get to do it a little bit easier, well, guess what? Hopefully I'm going to do something that's going to leave it a little better for someone else to do it a little bit easier, right? Because I very much have that thought process of we are all in this together, right? If I can do something to help somebody that they can succeed, that they can move forward in their life without having to go through the really hard thing, that'd be great. It doesn't always work that way, right? Sometimes we have to go through the hard thing, right? To learn the lesson, to do whatever it is that we need to do. But at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned, if we all just work a little bit together, we can probably, you know, make a bigger difference in the world than it having to be, I went through this, I'm the one who did it, you have to do it too, pick up your own bootstraps. I don't really subscribe to that personally, but
yeah,
that's me.
You're describing innovation.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
yeah,
you're
absolutely.
innovating okay, it may have worked the other way, and it used to work where it was 5 or 10 years on the job.
Yeah.
But innovation is you can get through it doing these things, and maybe only 2 years goes by.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and in that 10 years that person spent, I've been able to learn those things, right? I've been able to take what that person did, all that work they did, and use it, right? What an incredible testament that everything that you did wasn't for nothing, right? It was to teach somebody, it was to bring somebody up. It was for this innovation that we have now, right? And I think there's a lot in the world right now that people are really scared because of AI and what that's looking like. And, you know, are we all working ourselves out of a job, right? And I do think that there's some some validity to that. But I also think that if people would just be true to who they are and be themselves, instead of trying to use AI to write the perfect email, right? There are things that AI is great for, don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, it's our humanity that makes us who we are. And so I think it's really important to not forget that what we bring to the table as an individual is really important, and to hang on to that.
Yeah, it's like I can write an email or AI can write an email, and the person may still not read the email.
Right. Exactly.
Or everything I wanted in the email. So what does it matter?
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Who knows? So
yeah, it's like, that's more about the message, or conveying a message. That's the thing. Whether you use AI or you, right? You still have to do that. What is it I'm trying to get to make this person do?
Yeah. Well,
that I want done.
That idea about communication, right? They say that communication isn't what you say, it's what the other person hears, right? Yeah. And it's not necessarily even what they hear, but what action they take. Where do they come out of that, right? And that's why things like podcasts, right, are so incredible, because they make you feel something, right? A good one does anyway, right? Where that's really what we're trying to hold on to, is if you want somebody to do something, you need to get them to feel something, whether that is the feel for the desire to help somebody, whether that is the feeling of I want to be successful and therefore I'm going to go do X, Y, and Z, whether that is they feel anger, so they're going to turn around and do what you need them to do or not do what you need them to do, right? It all comes back to feeling, man, all of it, that empathy of understanding what people are going through and what they need at the end of the day.
Yeah. I just did a training this past Friday up in Virginia with some PMs, and I was basically imparting my my philosophy, or just my strategy and my hints at being a good contractor to a customer.
Sure.
And what I told them was my style is if you really are interested in me, as you'll ask me at least a question about me and my life.
Sure.
So the gauge is, if they never ask a question, then they really don't. They care for you to give good, support, but we're not friends.
Yeah,
we're just not.
Yep.
You have to let that go. You can sometimes have friendships out of the office, right? But generally, you're there to do a job, and some people can fall into this trap where they want to be friendly with someone. And I was like, it's just like a test. So the thing is, make them talk about themselves.
Yep.
And it's just so all this interest. And I said, I didn't even put pictures up in my cube. It was I don't own this space. I don't own anything here. I'm at service.
Yeah.
And I want them to see that. And I'll generally have a really good relationship. And sometimes, very, very rarely, do they actually take interest in, hey, so tell me about your family or whatever. But generally, no, it's just for them. And that's fine. You just, and then they like you because, I don't know if it's called kissing their butt. It's not. It's just it's just being sensitive to the actual environment you're in.
Yep, exactly. Well, you need to understand that environment, right? Yeah. Because in some cases, you may have that guy. And I've had those customers that they want to go out for drinks after the meeting, and they want to know what your home life is like, and, go to the Trash Panda game and cool. Those kind of things, right? Those are great, right? Those aren't normally what you get, right? And for lots of different reasons, but a lot of times they're away from their home, or they're away from their family, or they're trying to just get a job done, right? And so reading the room is so important to understand who you're working with, what they need, what they want, right?
Yeah.
So,
all right, so let's skip now to you. You bounced around a little bit, and you lived all over Ohio. You lived you didn't live in Westchester. You worked in Cincinnati, and the company Rave
Motion
Pictures was based in Westchester. Right?
Yeah,
that's a good ways east.
One of the theaters.
Okay.
So I moved to Cincinnati and was working in a restaurant.
And you're 18.
18. Yep, I had just turned 18. Let me tell you what, made some stupid mistakes, but did the thing. Moved to Cincinnati, moved with some friends. So I was living in a house with 4 other people. And I was working at Buffalo Wild Wings as a waitress, and I saw an advertisement for an assistant manager for a movie theater company, Rave Motion Pictures. And I actually didn't even know it was a movie theater company at the time when I went for the interview. I felt real stupid, let me tell you what. I knew it was some kind of entertainment company, but I thought it was like a movie production type company is what I thought it was. And then I show up and it's a movie theater and I felt real stupid. But
you're like, hey, where's the production?
Yeah, it was this whole thing. But they offered me $8.75 an hour, okay. Which was not a lot of money at the time.
What year was this?
This was 2006.
Okay.
So, 2006, end of 2005, early 2006. And so $8.75 an hour, but there was advancement opportunities. And so it was less money than what I was making as a waitress. And so they agreed that I could do both if I worked my schedule around them. So that's what I did. And so I would go drive 45 minutes from, I was north of Cincinnati. I would drive down south to Westchester. I would work 8 hours at the movie theater, and then I would come home. I would hurry up and get to the restaurant, and I would go serve beers for the football games at Buffalo Wild Wings.
Wow.
So I did that for about a year. Loved it. I applied for a promotion. So one of the things that was interesting about Rave, and I think they were very smart in this way. I hated it at the time, but they were smart. Most of their managers were very young, and most of their staff were very young. So you had 16, 17-year-old kids and 17, 18-year-old kids that were managing them.
Okay.
And so in order to move up in the company for a promotion for a manager, you had to move locations. And at the time, I hated it. But in retrospect, I think it was very smart because as we were talking about some of that idea of younger generations, that being friendly thing, that if you spent too long at a theater, you would start to become friends with these people. Yeah. And that's harder to hold people accountable when you're friends, especially at that age. You know, I'm 18, 19 years old at the time. So these folks that are right in my regular age range, and now I'm having to write them up if they're doing something they're not supposed to. I'm the one who's having to do schedules, all those kinds of things, right? So
and they're all going to school together too, if they're in high school.
Yep. And so they all know each other, and everybody's dating everybody. Yeah. And then you get into the drama of, oh no, John cheated on Jackie, and now Jackie's upset, and you can't schedule Jackie. Let me tell you why there was some drama. Yeah. And so what was neat about that, though, from the promotion perspective, was you could never spend too long at the same theater, which I think was probably pretty good from like an actual accountability perspective in learning from a management. So I applied for a job in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and I was super excited because the general manager I was working with in Westchester, who I loved, one of the best leaders I've ever worked for, was going to this theater in Allentown, and I wanted to follow him.
Real quick, this is just like they have 5 or 6 screens. You're selling popcorn and candy.
Yeah.
It's that kind of theater?
Yes.
We're watching Top Gun?
But it's 18 screens.
Oh, goodness. So it's a multiplex.
It's a multiplex. And Rave specifically was actually started by some gentlemen who had come out of like the Cinemark world.
Okay.
And they wanted to do it better. And so their entire... I give them so much credit because they were so open about this with everyone. They wanted to create a really good movie theater with an incredible experience that was all about customer service. They wanted to build it up, make it multi-million, $billion, and then they wanted to sell it as their retirement. Okay. And that is exactly what they did, for the record. They wildly successful at what they did with that theater. And so they're a little bit different in that they very much focused on customer experience. So on the weekends, we had activities for little kids and for families. We made sure that like when Tangled came out, we had the hairdressers came out and did little tinsel for all the little girls' little hairs and things like that. So it became an entire experience, not just, hey, let's go to the movies. And they also really focused on keeping the concession lines really short because they figured out that if you paid for the $8 an hour for somebody to be there, you could sell exponentially more popcorn if there was no line. And at the time, Cinemarks of the world did not figure that out. People would just bypass. And so they were really able to work through their profit margin there and have some much larger profit that they got on their popcorn because they don't make any money off the actual movies.
Yeah, right.
So, so it was really cool for me at 18 to learn all of this, to get to see all of this, and to work with managers that loved to teach, right? And so I applied for that job in Allentown because I wanted to follow this general manager, and I didn't get the job. And I was devastated. I remember sitting on my bed with my head in my lap, just bawling. I was so sad. But what did happen was I said, that's okay. Wasn't meant to be for whatever reason. They thought, and basically they had told me without telling me that I was too young, that I wasn't ready.
Really?
And so, yeah. And that hurt because, I grew up the way that I did. I'm very mature, all the things. I thought I was ready. But honestly, it was the greatest thing ever because it taught me that it's okay for things not to go the way you planned, right? And so, I brushed it off, went into work the next day, did my job how I'm supposed to, and I was okay. I was fine, and I just kept doing my job and doing it well, and was like, you know what, it'll come back around. And in that same time frame, our regional manager came in, and I'd never met him before. And I walked up to him. I said, "Hi, I'm Amanda." And at the time, my last name was Mason. And I said, "Hey, I'm Amanda Mason, and I would like to open the Las Vegas theater." And he was like, "What?" And I said, "Well, I heard Las Vegas is coming. That's going to be our new flagship theater. I want to open it. I'm just putting my name in the ring right now."
And you're like 19 or 20 at this time?
At the time, I'm still 18.
You're still 18.
Still,
okay.
Well, I may have just turned 19.
Okay.
So I'm very young. And that was how I got my nickname of Firecracker. I was the redhead who had never met this man before ever, who said, I would like to go to Las Vegas. And he was real sweet about it and was like, well, we haven't even picked out a general manager for that yet. We don't know what's going on. We'll see. Da, da, da. And I was like, okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Whatever. And went back to work. Well, then like a month later, a promotion came up for Huntsville, Alabama. And it was a salaried position for the theater, which meant more money. It meant benefits like actual health insurance, which was incredible at the time. I didn't have any. And I was terrified because I wanted to go to Las Vegas.
Yeah. And
if I took this job, the timing wasn't going to work. Right. So, I ended up coming down here for a home finding trip. And I hate to say this, I was so sheltered growing up. I had never even heard of Space Camp. Didn't know it was a thing.
Right.
Didn't know Huntsville was a thing
right.
at all. And I came down here for a home finding trip, and I fell in love. The weather alone, and I was here in the summer, so my home finding trip I think was in May, and then I moved June. And so I moved here in June, so it was hot, but I hate the cold in Ohio. So I moved down here. And loved it. Loved the people I was working with. I had never understood, I'd never really experienced Southern charm before. Mm-hmm. And just how kind everybody was. And at the time, Huntsville was nowhere near as built up as it is now because this was 2006, 2007, somewhere in there. And I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Loved going to work every day. My general manager, Tony Sellers, used to yell at me because I would be at work too much. I was salary. So I was like, I can work all the time. Yeah. It's fine. It doesn't, because I don't know anybody and I was poor. So I didn't even have a TV in my house. So going home was not anything I wanted to do. Right. And so, so all this happens. And then I'm here for 3 months. And about a month and a half in, I get a call. And this man says, Miss Mason, this is Mr. Wynn calling from the Las Vegas Theater. I was like, oh, hi, how are you? And he was like, I'm curious as to why I was told you wanted to open this theater, but I don't have an application from you. Oh. And I was like, well, I just moved to this theater, so I assumed that wasn't possible, right? Like they want you to do at least 6 months at a theater, usually a year to a year and a half, right? Yeah. And so, so I was like, so I didn't think I was eligible. He's like, yeah, I'm going to need you to send me an application. Wow. And so I went and talked to my general manager. I sent the application. I did the interview, and they offered me the job to go out to Las Vegas. I literally was here for 3 months. And I almost turned the Las Vegas job down. Really? Because I loved Huntsville so much.
You had to break your lease and everything?
Yeah. But see, that was the beauty of the company. They did all that for you.
They took care of it.
So I was here for 3 months, and I literally, there was a lady that lived below me in the apartment, and I had her get her kids. They were not very well off, and I said, listen, I'm moving to Las Vegas, and I'm renting a room from somebody that's already furnished. I don't need any of this furniture. I don't want to have to deal with it. Come get it. And so they came and cleaned out my apartment for me, and they took everything. I don't know if some of it I'm sure they kept, some of it I'm sure they sold. And I loaded up everything I could in my Dodge Neon, and I drove 24 hours to Las Vegas.
Wow.
Yeah. And so so it was crazy because I took this opportunity thinking Las Vegas was off the table. And then because I had, told somebody somewhere, this is kind of what I wanted, I never even applied for it originally. And then it came back around, and at the opening, I actually got to do that one from the ground up. So we got to hire everybody. I was there when we were building the building, the whole 9 yards. It was amazing.
Which part of where is it at?
It's at the very south end of the strip. Okay. So Town Center is where it's at.
Oh, yeah.
And so at the time, there were some other theaters, but none of them were like nice, right? So this one became the premier theater in Vegas, and we would do movie premieres, and we'd have celebrities and all that kind of stuff, right?
And you're like 19.
20. Yeah. I turned 21 in Vegas. I ended up being 19 by the time I got there. Wow. Or no, yeah, 19 when I got there, and then I turned 21. And then which was crazy because we went to this dinner and they were pouring wine for everybody.
Yeah.
And somebody handed me a glass of wine, and I'm like, I'm not old enough to be drinking, y'all. Like, I'm not, and I'd already picked up a Southern accent, which was hilarious. Yeah. And so my manager at the time was like, nobody knows, you're not driving. Yeah. Just don't be stupid. Right. And so I'm sitting over there because I'm a goody two shoes at the time. Right. And so, yeah, it was wild being out in Las Vegas. I turned 21 out there, almost got arrested on my birthday because Vegas has different rules for their driver's license than Ohio. And I still had my Ohio driver's license. And so it technically had expired. And I was very annoyed because I was literally like a half a mile from my friend's house. I wasn't even going to be driving that night. I was just getting to her house, and then she was taking me. So of course I got an attitude with the police officer because I was mad, and he was like, well, ma'am, if you want to go to jail for your birthday. And I was like, no, just kidding. I'm just kidding. So yeah, it was good times.
So did they had these big dreams, and it sounds like they sold. Did they ever offer you like equity?
No. So with my position in what I was doing, number one, I was entirely too young to even know any of that could even be on the table, right? Number one. Number two, the way the company operated, they very much had their inner circle, and the rest of us were just management, right? And so, and that's ultimately why I ended up leaving the first time, was because the writing on the wall was coming of where they were going, and I didn't really want to be a part of the sell-off. And so I went home to Ohio and started my college degree, and then about a year and a half, probably about 2 years later, I got a phone call from one of them that they actually had acquired a bunch of theaters, and they wanted me to come in and train the new management on the rave way. And so that's how I ended up back with the company and in the Toledo area, and then back down in Cincinnati again.
Okay, that makes sense. How you ended up in Toledo, way up there.
Yeah.
That's cold right on the water, right?
Yeah, it was interesting, Toledo. I didn't do much but work the entire time I was there because there's not a whole lot there to do. Yeah. So I wish I would have gone up to Michigan, but I never did.
But we'll get into Blaze here shortly, but what amazing experiences for you to have.
Yeah.
To have someone like believe and trust in you, even if, let's say, they're taking advantage of young people who don't know to say, hey, wait a minute, what's in this for me? Yeah. They just know when they can get a good manager, and they're going to deal with these knucklehead 16 and 17-year-olds that they have to hire and deal with their drama and all that stuff, right? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you must be drawing, maybe in retrospect or as you went along, somebody like, well, you don't have enough experience. So, yeah, I've got experience.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the things I appreciated the most about the theater was I got to learn a little bit of everything. So I got HR experience, I got management experience, I got even marketing big time, a lot of marketing experience, a lot of customer service, right? A little bit of everything, and even getting to do a lot of stuff with the theater in Vegas where I was working with a lot of the contractors, right? And making sure the building was up to code and making sure we were, following all the procedures the way we were supposed to. And so all of those things were just absolutely invaluable. Yeah. But what was really neat about it was I realized from a business perspective, knowing I wanted to go into business, knowing I wanted to be an entrepreneur someday, I was looking at this theater and looking at all of these different things that I felt like I personally have learned a good amount without a degree, right? But what don't I know, right? And that's how I decided to go into accounting, because I felt like all these other areas of business, I can learn on the job. I can learn from reading. I can learn from talking to people, that kind of thing. But the numbers, right? Truly understanding the numbers behind your business, your profit, your loss, your cash flow, right? What do those things look like? I felt like I needed more. I needed to have a better understanding of that. And so I'm really thankful, because I think if I'd gone to college earlier in life, I would have done something completely different. And I don't think I would have the wealth of knowledge that I do now, and how important it is to understand the numbers behind your business.
Were you a good student?
Yes.
In high school and stuff?
In high school, middle school, high school, I was a great student. In college, I was a great student for anything dealing with my major.
Right.
I really struggled with all the puff classes because I was like, I just need the degree. I just need to get this done. This is silly. Why am I've done all these things in life. And so it felt very performative. And so, they joke about, C's get degrees. So like most of my GPA is not phenomenal.
But you got it.
But my accounting classes were all A's, right? Because that was what was important to me. All my business classes, my marketing classes, strategy, I got straight A's in all of that because it was important to me. It mattered. And I was interested in it. I enjoyed doing it. But,
Yeah. And you really tripled down on accounting, because at Youngstown State, that's what you did. Mm-hmm. Your undergrad was on in accounting, yep. And then you got your MBA with the focus on accounting.
Yeah, and I thought I was going to be a CPA, actually. Yeah. I met all the requirements. The only thing I have not done is actually taken the CPA exam. And I did a year. You have to do a year public accounting before you can go do your CPA, before you can become one. And I did that, and I hated it.
No, thank you.
Hated it. And I love accountants. I think they're amazing. I love certified public accountants. I think they're amazing. It is not for me. It is just not. And so great experience to figure out that was not the right path for me, right? But I couldn't do it the rest of my life. There's no way. To the point that I didn't even go get the test. I didn't even go take the test.
And you just said that you knew you wanted to go into small business. Is that just kind of, where did that seed get planted?
So I have always wanted to be in control of my own destiny. That has always been my biggest driving factor. As a kid, I was stuck. I was always stuck in this place or in this circumstance or that kind of thing, right? And so my entire life, I have always just wanted to be in control. That's the big thing. And when it comes to work, right, the only way to truly be in control of your destiny is to be the head honcho, right? And I almost gave up the idea of entrepreneurship for Dynetics, because I loved that company so much.
Yeah.
And I thought that, you know what, I had found somewhere that everything I want as far as control goes, I have. I get to have creative control. I get to enjoy what I do every day. I get to make a difference every day. And so I had actually given up the idea and thought, you know what, I think I might want to just stay here. I want to retire from this company, and at the time Dave King was the president of the company, and I'd actually met with him, and we had talked about a career path for me to, go all the way up into leadership someday, and so on and so forth. And that was really awesome. And then I stood in a conference room and cried when they announced the Leidos buyout.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, this was before the acquisition, right?
It was before the acquisition, yeah. So, and that was, don't get me wrong, Leidos is a phenomenal company. They are.
But
they're publicly traded. And at the end of the day, they will always be there for their shareholder, right? And that's not who Dynetics was. That wasn't the company I signed up to work for. That's not the company I fell in love with. And that is not the company that I had thought about giving up my dream of entrepreneurship for, right?
Yeah.
And I tried to make it work. I really did. And I couldn't get there. And so I pivoted and ended up somewhere else, another small business, to kind of get some more experience, to kind of gain, is this really where I want to go and what I want to do? And
that was Invariant?
That was Invariant.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was there for 4 years, incredible experience with them. And then I left unexpectedly because my mom was diagnosed with COPD and emphysema. And we had a cancer scare. We thought she had lung cancer. And turns out it's actually just a mucus membrane in her lung. And not that that's a good thing by any means, but it's not cancer, which changes the diagnosis and the prognosis. So I had stepped away. I was fortunate enough that I have been good with my finances, right? And so I was in a position where I didn't have to work for a little bit. I could take some time. And so I left the company and went and spent some time with my mom and had a better understanding, got to go meet with her actual doctors and talk through what that looked like for her. My mom started smoking when she was 11, by the way.
Wow.
She quit when she was 60.
In Youngstown?
Yep. Yeah. And so after that and figuring out what that looked like and that kind of thing, it gave me an opportunity to take a step back and go, what's next? What do I want to do?
Yeah.
And, the more I thought about it, what was I waiting for? Right? I had the knowledge that I needed to start the company. I knew what I wanted to do. And I have this thing. So Mark Chambliss was my supervisor at Dynetics. One of the other people in my life who I would not be here today without him. Just incredible mentor. And he says I try, TRY, try. That is my superpower is what he calls it. And what it is I don't ever say I don't know. I say I don't know, but I'll find out, right? And I've been very fortunate in that way that I don't know everything. I don't. But I surround myself with people who do, who can help, who are willing and want to be there, right? And I've built this incredible community in Huntsville of people that know what they're doing. And so, at that point, it was, I know what I know. And I know what I don't know, right? Because I'm not perfect. I do not know everything. I will never know everything, right? But it was time. It was time to jump, and did that last year. We're coming up on a year here in April, and it is one of the greatest things I've ever done.
Before we go into Blaze, with the moving around, I'd like to know, did you have like a bestie?
Yeah.
Or a couple besties, or was that difficult? Were you gaining friends, losing friends? I mean, obviously you seem to be young. You're younger than me, where maybe there was phones and stuff, and email and stuff like that. But and then, so you did.
Yeah.
You had a good group of friends and stuff?
Yes and no. So I just recently got married. We had talked about this offline.
Yeah.
And my maid of honor in my wedding is my best friend from my freshman year in high school. And through everything, she has been my best friend. And we don't see each other very often. Sometimes, depending on the phase of life we're in, we don't talk a lot. But when we need each other, we're there. Unfortunately, her dad died unexpectedly a couple years ago, and I was on a plane within 5 hours, right?
She's in Ohio?
She's in Ohio. She's up in Cleveland area now.
Okay.
And so she is my one constant that I have had since I was a freshman in high school. And I have other friends, too, that I've had a long time, but she is my best friend. She shows up when I need her, and I show up when she needs me. And so I've been very fortunate with that. And then every other place I have been, I collect friends. I love people. I love talking. I'm obviously very outgoing and extroverted. And so, I still have friends from when I was in Cincinnati. I have friends from when I was in Las Vegas that I'm still in contact with. Here in Huntsville, part of the reason I be real hard pressed to leave to go anywhere. Charleston, South Carolina is actually one of the few places I've considered. The community here, the friends that I have built here. Working at the accounting firm many, many years ago, Dana Del Duco became one of my best friends. And to this day, she was a bridesmaid in my wedding. Right. And it's incredible to me how you can go through life and do so many things, right? Like I've been a party of one in a lot of ways, but I've always had people, always.
Yeah.
There's always been people that, look for the helpers, right? I did not do any of this on my own, right? And whether that's been learning from the strength of my mother, learning from the strength of my father, overcoming adversity in different ways and learning those lessons, sometimes the hard way, sometimes the easy way, right? But having people all around me in different ways that have just been incredibly helpful.
Okay. So let's talk about the groundwork that was laid getting ready for Blaze in the sense of you're a part of the Women's Economic Development Council.
Yeah.
You are part of Leadership Greater Huntsville. You're involved in Momentum, which I believe is out of Birmingham.
Yes.
Similar to Leadership Greater Huntsville in a way.
Kind of, yeah. They're more focused on women executive leadership. Okay. So, and they've just started the Huntsville chapter a couple of years ago. So Birmingham's more established.
Obviously you're like you just said, you made friends in Huntsville the first time. You made friends in Vegas. You have friends in Ohio. You come here. You're going to meet friends like Megan, and John Schmidt and others, right?
Yeah.
And so, and that's, to your point and what we rave about this town is there's something different. And in fact, I'm actually going to interview Christy, who's the CEO of Leadership Greater Huntsville. Yeah. It's in March.
Okay.
And I just talked to her yesterday.
She's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
And I basically challenged her to think, like, I really, really want you to think, like, when did this start as far as why Huntsville's different or why is it really different? Because we always say it, but let's really stretch our minds and think about why is it different. But so with that, you obviously have a strong network and you probably have some good friends and others saying, do it. Start it.
Yeah.
So let's just start with the name. Is it a reflection on you? You got red hair and you're the firecracker and that's Blaze. Yeah.
So really it's the idea of wanting to do something different. Let's set the world on fire. Right. I think I had mentioned to you, Pink, Just Like Fire is one of my favorite songs, right? Just like Fire, man. And so in the same way that when I was, that young 18-year-old kid who's just hungry, right? I've always been a firecracker, always. And I dyed my hair black once. And then my dad gave me more money than he should have, that he probably did not have, because he was so angry about it that he made me go to the salon and turn it back to red. So I will always be a redhead.
Did you get teased as a redhead?
Yes. I actually got teased more about my brother because my brother was just not great. And so I was his little sister. So I got teased a lot because of that, more so. But I did, carrot top, haha, you can't go in the sun. Or gym class, I would be an apple because my skin was so pale. And so I'd become very, very red when running, which is actually why I didn't run a lot when I was younger, because I was always really self-conscious about that.
Did you come home and cry about it? Like, did it get to you, or were you
Yeah. And I was a chubby kid too, on top of it, so that didn't help anything. And so, and actually, unfortunately, my brother was one of the worst people that teased me a lot when I was a kid. And so, I was really confident in a lot of things, like, how smart I was, and the fact that I could read a room, which, good or bad. But yeah, there were some days that were really hard, right? I had a closet that I would hide in every now and then, and get behind the clothes and bawl my little eyes out until I'd fall asleep. Okay. So, you have those moments, right? They're formative, right?
I guess we all do, right? Doesn't matter. If you're tall, you're going to get made fun of. You're skinny, you're heavy, you're short, you're too dark, you're too this,
Well, I was just listening to Mrs. Alabama's episode and her talking about her height as her superpower. And when she walks in the room, she owns it. And I was like, yes, I love that. And I wish more women were like that. Right. And I think that's so much of why Women's Economic Development Council is so incredibly important to me, because it's not just a women's organization. It is a women's organization that is fiercely protective of women, right? So it is not a mean girls club. It is not you win and so I lose. You win, so I win. We all win, right? It's that idea that, high tide lifts all boats, right? And that was something I had never experienced before coming to Huntsville. This idea that there is enough success for all of us, every single one of us, right? And so when my first experience with WEDC was actually through Women Honoring Women, which is their nonprofit arm. So it's two different organizations, but they do a yearly fundraiser for Women Honoring Women. And what they do is they take nominations from the community of incredible women that should be recognized for what they've done here, right? And so I got invited to go to the fundraiser because the organization I was working with at the time had an extra seat, right? I didn't know anything about it. And I show up, and these young women who have been recipients of the scholarships from the foundation got up and told their story. And one of them was Green Pea Press. I don't know if you're familiar with the company.
Heard of it.
But it's a young woman who was a part of the foundation. She got a scholarship. She used that to go to college, and then she started Green Pea Press and started this business. And it was all about what the beauty of the foundation was. It wasn't that she got money. That was great. Don't get me wrong. We need money. But she got mentorship. She got a community. She got... when she was having a hard day, she had these other women that were going through things that she could talk to about that, right? She got to go to a class on professional dress, right? She had a closet at the foundation that when an interview came up and she had nothing to wear, she got to go to this closet and find something that not only fit her, but made her feel confident, right? So that she could change her stars, right? So that she could make a difference for herself. And so in that night, I just fell in love with everything the Women Honoring Women had done that night. And I was like, I need to know more. And that's what got me back to WEDC. And how I was able to meet some absolutely incredible women. Lee Christian, she's actually not here anymore, but she was in government contracting. She was how I first found out about Dynetics and even looked to apply there. And she helped prep me for the interview because I didn't have any government contracting experience at all, but I really, really wanted the job. And, I walked in there and somebody else, they'd actually planned on hiring somebody else. And for whatever reason, something I did, they changed their mind and they hired me.
That's awesome.
And I went home and cried that day too, but I cried because I was so excited to go on this new adventure, because before moving to Huntsville, I didn't even know government contracting was a thing. And I just thought it was so cool to be able to participate in the world and in this idea of supporting the warfighter, right? I'm not meant to be in the military. I will never be in the military. That is not something. But to be able to participate and to support the warfighter in that way, that was life-changing for me to have that opportunity. Yeah. And it completely changed my entire trajectory.
I remember just especially I'm an early morning person. I can be. I'm a morning person. And when I used to commute, I was a morning person. Like, you had to be a morning person. Yeah. So I'd be at CIA by 6 a.m. And you walk in, and most of the world's not even up yet. Well, I shouldn't say the world, but the eastern seaboard's kind of waking up, and central, my family in the mountain time zone, they're all in bed. But like, you walk in and you walk across that seal, and you're like, what I do has meaning. Yeah. And there's a lot of jobs that I'm saying, everybody needs a job, but there's certain jobs you're like, I don't know if I really have a lot of me. I don't feel like I'd find a lot of purpose in that. Yeah. But there were so many times where or really late at night, you've had a really long day, but a productive day, and you leave and you walk across that seal, and I would just really be thankful that I was one of those that could come even into those spaces and work there, you know, and just how thankful I was. But man, it would more than 24 times. I probably really kind of stopped in my tracks. Like, this is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a lot of what was so incredible for me at Dynetics and at Invariant, right? So many of the things that we worked on.
Yeah, sure.
Was there were tangible things in the world that I could see that I had a hand in, right?
Oh, like just when I interviewed David and we thought the gunshot detection technology in the city of Phoenix.
Oh gosh,
cool
incredible
stuff.
Things that they do, incredible things, and Invariant is doing even cooler things now than that, right? With some of these weapon systems and things that they're doing, they're making an incredible difference in the world. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's great stuff.
So somewhere in Invariant, you meet your now husband. Right? You were both employees there?
Yeah. So actually, I met him at Dynetics.
Okay.
So he and I both worked at Dynetics and came on board full-time at Dynetics almost about the same time, which was really kind of interesting. He was an intern, though, before that. So he had a longer tenure. And so he was an engineer working within the same department that I was doing program support. And so for several years, I worked with him and his team in doing program support for all the different things he was doing. And then as time went on and I started moving up the ranks in Dynetics, eventually I became the deputy department manager for Mark Chambliss. And then Mark ended up retiring and walking away. And so when he did that, I became the department manager and I needed a deputy.
I see.
And so Dynetics had some concerns with me being a non-technical leader leading engineers, which is absolutely fair, right? And so we really thought hard about who should be my deputy, and we decided it needed to be somebody who had very strong technical chops, right? I had the business side and understood all of that very, very well, and I understood enough about the engineering to be dangerous. I knew what I knew, what I didn't know, right? And so he became my deputy. And so we started working closer together in that role. And then eventually when the decision was made to leave Dynetics, he ended up going to Invariant with me. And there were several of us that ended up leaving ultimately. And we took a good part of our team ended up all going to Invariant because they had positions available. And we loved working together, that group that we had built. And so we did that at Invariant. And at the time, I've been previously married. He's been previously married. And so we'd worked together for a very long time, and we were always.
You were both single at the time?
So no. So we haven't both. The day he realized he had feelings for me was the first day in our history that we had both been single at the same time. So I had gotten divorced in 2021. And then I had dated a couple different guys through there and trying to, figure out where I wanted to go, what I wanted. And he was still married at that time. And then a couple years ago, he just recently got divorced, more recently than I had. But at the time, I was dating somebody, and I had honestly never looked at him like that before. He was an engineer. He was my work buddy, whatever. But I never really felt that way about him. And we had a group of friends, and my girlfriends, we go on a wine day every year where we go up to Arrington Vineyards. We have a designated driver. We rotate who is that person every year. And then we go day drink and have a great time. Okay. And not this past year, but the year before we started dating, he had come that first year as one of the girls. And he was allowed to come back because he did a very good job of being one of the girls. He didn't break any of the rules. And so this day, it just so had happened that the guy I was dating, we ended up splitting up. We just wanted different things. Great guy. Just he was nowhere near ready to settle down, which was fair. And I was. I had been divorced for a while now. I was ready to, find something real that I wanted long term. And we had a great time with all of our friends, and it ended up pouring down rain. So we ended up getting much more intoxicated a lot faster than any of us had planned on, because we started chugging our wine, which I do not suggest. And so we drove back to my house because my house was home base where everybody came together. And he passed out on my couch, and I passed out in my bed. And the lovely women that we were with are crazy and all went downtown because apparently, the driver, of course, she was sober, so she wanted to drink. And the other ones were apparently sober enough that they felt that they could go downtown. I was not.
Oh, boy.
And my now husband, Nick, was not. So he was passed out on the couch. I was passed out on my bed. And about 3 hours later, I wake up starving. And he's waking up on the couch. And so we order pizza. And we sit there for like the next 5 hours just talking, just the two of us. And at some point, the girls come back, they get some pizza, they all go home. And then he gets in his car and he drives home. And I didn't really think anything of it. We've always been very good friends. We've always had a great rapport. This time we talked a lot more personally because, I had just recently broken up with someone, and, he had just gone through a divorce not too long ago. And so just, talked a lot about life. Didn't really think anything of it. But something had changed. And then a couple of days later, I was having some friends over again because this sounds terrible, but I bought a Bartesian. I don't know if you're familiar with a Bartesian, but it's a Keurig for alcohol.
Okay.
And so they have little pods, and you put the little pod in, and it, makes your drinks. And so I was having some friends over to try this out. And so he got done with the meeting early, and he asked if he could come over early. And I was like, sure, why not, And he comes over, and I make him his drink. It was an old fashioned, and sits down at my kitchen island. And he goes, so are we going to talk about this? And I was like,
talk about us.
Yeah, I'm confused. I was like, what do you mean? And I thought he was talking about a work thing because we had a big project coming up. And he was like, no, about us. And I was like, what do you mean about us? Right. And then he proceeds to tell me that he thinks, I will never let him live this down, that he's crazy about me. And I was like, you think you're crazy about me? Right. And it starts this conversation. And the funniest part about this to me is we start having, I was like, are you kidding? Like, no, you're my best friend. That's just weird, and then other people start showing up. And so we have to table this conversation, right? Because we have all these other people here. And then some of the other guests end up leaving, and then it's just me and him again. And he's like, so what do you think? And I was like, no. I was like, you are my ride or die. You are my best friend. We are so ingrained at work and everything else. I couldn't take it not working, you know? And he's like, well, why won't it work? And I was like, well, have you been in another relationship that it hasn't not worked, right? Up to this point, he had been divorced, and he's like, well, but you don't know that about us, right? And I give him such credit because I've never had a man that has ever fought for me like this before. And it was, we're going back and forth. I'm like, it's got to be everything or it's got to be nothing, right? It can't be anything in between. And I looked at him and I said, what if you kiss me and it's just weird, right? I mean, like, you're like, at this point, I've thought of him as my brother at other times, right? Like, I was like, it's just be weird. And he goes, well, let's find out. And he grabs me and he kisses me. And I was done. I was over. But signed, sealed, delivered. Was not weird. And we've been together ever since. And so it was wild. It was wild how we fell into place. I cannot recommend enough. Find your best friend. Find your best friend.
And some similarities into the man that ended your mom's life, right?
Yeah.
And what's with your stepdad now?
Yeah.
And do you think that's similar to what Nick is for you?
Yeah.
Or is there some similarity there?
I don't think there's any similarities between the two of them.
No, but as far as the impact on you.
Yeah.
Because you just said your mother had never met someone like that, and now you're saying.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said for that idea of being settled, right? Even in the time that I've lived here in Huntsville. I've been here 2012. So what is that? Like 14 years now. I have bought and sold multiple houses. I have lived in apartments. I just had to fill out my SF-86 and was so mad at myself.
You're a drifter.
I'm a drifter, right? I'm a drifter. And when I had bought a house in June of that year and turned around last year, sold the house. He had just bought a house because, again, like, we had no plans of anything at all. And so I've now sold that house, and now we just bought another house, and we're done. This is my house forever. That's awesome. Forever. And it's really wild because I get home and I just want to be there. Mm-hmm. I just want to be there. Where before I'm like, okay, let's, go out to this restaurant or let's go do this. And don't get me wrong, I like to go out, but I am so content at home. And that is a wild feeling for me. very wild feeling. And I think I don't have to be anything or anyone other than me with him.
Yeah.
And that is so powerful, so powerful. And I think that has a lot to do with what happened with my mom too, is I think my mom, was always chasing something, chasing someone, to fill whatever it was that she was trying to do. And, as much as she hates my stepdad sometimes, right? Because that's what happens in the long term, right? She loves that man, and he loves her for who she is and what she brings to the table. He doesn't try to make her something she's not.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. And I think that is what I found in Nick and what he has found in me. We show up for each other every day, and it doesn't mean it's easy.
Yeah.
By any means.
Well, now you're working together.
Yeah, and we do, and we work together. And you would think,
but you already were.
Yeah, we were already working together, so none of that changed. And you would think we would get sick of each other or want distance from each other. And we've been working less in the same vicinity recently. And we're like, man, I miss you. It's weird. Literally today, I was gone most of the day today running errands for different jobs. And I got home. I had 20 minutes before I had to leave to come here. And he moved and came and sat on the couch with me. And he's like, I feel like I haven't seen you all day. I was like, well, you haven't, right? And but we spent all day yesterday in the house. Our office is in the same room, right? And so it's wild. Yeah. It's completely different.
Okay, so with Blaze, I know that, and I think Joe Martin, because I listened to your episode and I'll try to consume. I was telling Nicole Reynolds, she doesn't do a lot of interviews, and a lot of people don't do a lot of interviews, but it's always nice when somebody has done at least some, and you kind of pick up on things. And for you, I really liked how in your employee handbook, you have to reply to an email within 24 hours, right? That's neat.
Yeah.
And that's all part of company culture, right? And that starts at day one.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like Chick-fil-A. They take training so seriously that on day one, you're instilling the value of Blaze Solutions and what's expected.
Yeah. Yeah. We're trying to do a lot of things, taking some really great things that other people have done and building upon them, right? One of the things I was terrified about doing was burnout, right? I do all the things, love to do all the things, but I get burnt out pretty easily. So we have a burnout policy and what that looks like, right? To help prevent that from happening. And so, as CEO of the company, there are a lot of things riding on me. But you know what? I have a backup for every single one of them, every single one of them. And I think that's really important so that when the time comes for me to step away, I can. And I'm not worried about whether or not the company's going to run. And that's a hard thing to do because it takes trust, right? And trusting someone else to do the job, right? But I won't hire somebody that I don't trust. Won't do it.
How many employees do you have?
We're at 4 right now.
Okay.
So
go ahead.
And then we are actually growing a little bit. So we're interviewing another person here soon and probably bringing on employee number 5.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's good stuff.
I'm bring up your website. I hope you can see that. Oh, you can look at it over here.
Yeah.
There we go. That's easier for you.
Yeah.
I wanted to pull up. What do you want me to pull up on this? What would you want me to showcase if there you are? Leadership development is definitely something that and I think you just described it. You have a backup or a contingency plan within who's going to run this if someone's has to go take care of their mother.
Yeah.
Or whatever. They're on burnout and they're on sabbatical or whatever it may be, right? Program management, strategic support, government services. So this 5th person's going to come in which discipline?
They're doing government services.
Okay. So on contract?
Yep.
Somewhere?
Yep. They will be doing some actual direct contract work.
Okay. And then the other stuff so they're going to be on site 40 hours a week, full FTE. Everyone else is kind of working projects.
Yeah. So, so Nick is full time at the government now, starting next week, actually. So he has full time contract work. So he had a customer that wanted to get to him, and so that's what he's doing. Cool. And he's supporting them. And then I do part time direct contract work for the government, and then I do the leadership development things, and so which is a big part of what I do. So I'm also working with the Alabama School of Cyber Technology and Engineering as an intern supervisor for them. And so they've got their senior year. All of those students get to go into agencies here in Huntsville and do a real internship. And so some of those kids are at RTX or Raytheon, some are at Leidos, some are at Outpost Technologies, Corvid, that kind of thing. And so I get to go participate with that and make sure that they're getting the support that they need and learning and, being professionals. And they're so easy because they're all phenomenal kids. And so I get to do that too, which is really cool.
So you have a contract through ASCTE. Yes. ASCTE, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So
and that campus is expanding.
Yes, they're growing, and I'm really excited. I hope that they continue to grow because their model is just absolutely phenomenal. What the opportunities these kids are getting coming out of that school, and so I would love to be able to see us as a state, especially, really lean into what that model looks like.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's your about us. I want to go through this, and then I want to bring something up. So accountability, integrity, consistency, impact. Bold leadership, mission over ego. I like that. I remember you have a post. I guess you have posts on these, right?
Yes.
Individually, and that was number 6. And then what does that say? Cohesion.
Cohesion, yeah.
Sometimes I need my glasses. Now, I asked ChatGPT. This is kind of a new segment I like to do.
Oh, goodness.
And I asked it, what prompt did I ask it? Are you guys using AI?
Sometimes, yeah.
Describe Amanda Hooten's leadership style.
Ooh.
And this is what it came back with.
Ooh.
It says you're decisive and action-oriented.
Okay.
Tell me if you agree or disagree.
I absolutely agree.
Okay.
Thank you for making that bigger.
Yeah. I had to do it for myself too. Execution-focused rather than vision only.
Yeah.
You agree with that?
Yes, I do.
High emphasis on clarity and alignment.
Big time. Big time. Doesn't matter what we're going to do if we don't know what it is we're doing.
Accountability, centered leadership.
Yes.
Culture,
True accountability.
Culture conscious but structured.
Mm-hmm.
Systems-oriented leadership.
Yes.
I wonder where it's pulling all this stuff from, by the way.
I mean, so, I have a marketing professional that works for me, and she works very, very hard to make sure that our brand is out there, right? Because it is very important to us that as we grow, that these are the things that are at the center of our company, right? Because it's very important to me as we grow to be able to maintain that, because it's I'm not going to say it's really easy because it's not. It's all about being intentional, right? But at 2 employees, 4 employees, 5 employees, maintaining these things is easier, right? But our plan is not to be 5 employees forever. Now, I don't ever have a desire to be a Leidos or even hundreds of employees, right?
Yeah.
But as we grow, being able to keep this and to be intentional about this means that we have to actually work for it. And that's part of why one of my first hires was a marketing coordinator. I want to make sure that our communication internally and externally is accurate.
Is that Merit?
Yes, that's
okay.
Merit.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, she's incredible.
Let me ask this question. So, you're not even 40 yet, are you?
No, not yet. I'm close.
You're close. You're knocking on 40's door.
Yep.
I just turned 50. But do you find it difficult to relate to the younger generation in the sense of instilling these? Or are they actually surprising us more than we give them credit, and they're very malleable and ready to learn?
Yeah.
Talk me through that.
So I think that there are degrees of everything, right? And so it is important to make sure you are finding the right fit, right? So I think that there are some young professionals who are absolutely phenomenal if you understand what is important to them, right? And this is a great example. I just had a previous employee of mine come to me for some advice because she's really struggling. She got a job opportunity. She really wanted to take it, but she really liked the job she was still in, and she wasn't sure what to do, right? And the question came up as to why she was even considering leaving. And it was because her husband works from home. He loves working from home. She wants to work from home. And this position that came up is 100% remote. And that was important to her because it's important to her to get quality time with him because they're both busy people. They do lots of activities and things, to be able to have coffee with him in the morning. And right now she can't because she has to leave because she has to commute to the other side of town, right? Getting to have lunch with him every day is important to her, right? And so she is absolutely incredibly phenomenal at what she does when she's fulfilled. But now when she's going to work every day and she's having to do that commute, she's frustrated when she's walking in the office in the morning because now she missed out quality time with her husband. That's what's important to her, right? Where you've got some other folks in that same age range as her that they don't care as much about that connection, but they want to work from home because they want their computer in front of them and they want to be in their comfy pants, right? I get it. I like my comfy pants too, right? So it's all a matter of understanding the people you're trying to work with. Now, that said, we're in the government world, right? We can't always get those things that we want. So it's a matter of finding the right person, the right fit.
Yeah.
Because there are those young professionals that do want to be in the office, that do want to make a difference, that want to be connected to the warfighter, right? Mm-hmm. So it really comes down to understanding who the people are that are going to fill your roles and whether or not they're a fit. And that means asking more questions in an interview. It's not asking, what's your engineering degree in? Are you electrical or are you mechanical, right? Yes, that's important. We need to understand and make sure that they can fulfill the actual technical role, right? But if this is somebody who doesn't like to talk to other people and they're going to be front and center in the middle of a lab where they're going to have to interact with people all day, every day, they're not a good fit. Mm-hmm. So we need to make sure we're asking those questions. And so a lot of the issues that I have seen with these young whippersnappers that people are saying, oh, they don't want to work or they don't want to do this, is they're trying to put the wrong person in the wrong position, right? We've got to find what people are talented at and help them find that path of what that looks like instead of necessarily going the traditional route of just this thing, right? Yeah. Looking at things from a different point of view. What do we absolutely have to do? Does the position have to be in the office? It might have to be. But if it doesn't, it can be successful. They can have access to what they need to. They're obviously not on classified systems, things like that, right? Can they work from home? Yeah. Can they do it well? Do you have policies and procedures in place and or a support system to make sure they have what they need and they're able to get their job done, right? My entire team works remotely right now. We don't work together with the exception of Nick and I sometimes, right? And so, but they're supported. We have regular stand-up calls. And sometimes that call is 5 minutes. That's it, right? Other times it's an hour and a half, depending on what we're discussing, right? It's making sure that we've got things in place that allow us to work the way that we need to.
Do you and Nick have kind of this rule, like at some point the work has to be cut off and we're not talking work anymore?
Yeah. Yeah, and we do. Most of the time. Sometimes we're not real good at it. It's helpful that he's got 2 little babies. And so when we have the kids, we don't talk work, right? That is family time. We are connected, just the 4 of us, right? When we don't have the kids, it's a little bit more lax as far as how much we work. And that's, I think, because we both really enjoy it. And we're growing, right? So we're building this business right now. So I think it's a little bit harder. But we do on the weekends, we don't work. We do not. And we have strict rules about working at night as well. That is our time together, right? Because we both had bad habits from previous relationships where work became everything. Yeah. Right. And and for us, that could be even easier. Right.
I'm wondering if, like, talking about this generation, I think you and I are probably very similar in our personality types and stuff where, like, on one hand, I'll be like almost not accepting, like, well, I never had those options. Yeah. And I had to do what I had to do. And if it was on site, it was on site. And maybe it's just because I'm like jealous in a way that somehow it's like somebody you really want has an option. Yeah. But at the same time, I have to realize, like, they're not me. Mm-hmm. It's just like when I interviewed this guy, Jared Mitchum from TVA. Yeah. We were at some point talking about the value of that let's say the facility manager that walks around with 50 keys on their belt. Mm-hmm. But that guy, as long as you keep him happy, he'll be there for 40 years.
Oh, yeah. Forever.
And maybe forever. And like, you need that person.
Absolutely.
Or whatever role. And not everyone's built like that. I want to be the boss, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Right. And it's like, okay, let me just set aside my personality and the way I look at things and look at this person and try to understand where they're coming from. And ultimately, how am I going to maximize them? Because that's all it doesn't really matter what I think. I want them to do well because they're working for me, right?
Yeah. Well, and you look at the world, right? Look, even just Huntsville, right? We have so many different people, so many different types of people that have come from all kinds of different backgrounds, right? Especially here in Huntsville, because we're kind of like this melting pot, right? That has brought all these people in, right? There is absolutely no reason to have the wrong person in a position. Yeah. None, right? And I get recruiting is hard and those kinds of things, right? But it is a concerted effort. And so at the end of the day, if you can find the right person who wants to do that job and can do it in the way that you need them to, then you're golden, right? And then you support them and you make sure that they have what they need, because some people want to be connected to that mission, right? That's what's important to them. Some other folks, they just really want a pay raise, or they want to feel like they are appreciated, right?
Yep.
I had one employee did not care about raises at all, ever. He's not money motivated. But man, if you walked into his office and you said, hey, I noticed you did this thing and you did so great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. He would be beaming for a week.
What he wants.
That's all he needed, right? And that's what it comes down to, is knowing your people, know what makes them tick.
Yep.
And then doing what you can as an individual to support them, right? Whether that's putting someone out, like you might not be the best person to manage that person, right? Well, who is, right? And it's your due diligence, if you don't have the right person, either finding that person, or maybe that person's not the right fit for your organization right now. Because if you can't support them today, right, they're not going to last very long, right? So what is the point of bringing them in, spending all that money to train them and get them up to speed, for them to turn around in 6 months and leave because you don't have the right infrastructure or the right team to want to keep them, right? So it's thinking through those decisions more than just this person wants the job and they'll fit in the labor category.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Man, I could talk to you for 10 minutes. I want to do some fun. I want to roll through some pictures.
Okay.
But unless there's anything else you want to cover related to Blaze, and it's like every guest, I'm just going to have you back.
Yeah, I would love to do
because I want to even real quick question. Why were you volunteering with Bob Jones Lacrosse for 4 years? What's up with that?
Okay, so how
boyfriend?
No, actually not at all. So one of the guys, this is terrible, at Dynetics, one of the men I worked with was one of our best engineers.
Okay.
He's an optics engineer. He is, we call him a unicorn.
It's the GOAT.
Yes, exactly. He was coaching Bob Jones Lacrosse. And during lacrosse season, he would disappear. And he would use all his PTO, and he was gone. And I did not have what I needed from him from an optical perspective of getting the job done. And so,
see where this is going.
In that way that I am a problem solver, and sometimes I think outside the box. I'm going to him and I have this deadline on this thing. I need you to get this thing done. What can I do to support you? And he's like, well, I got this, this, and this. The next thing you know, I'm helping with lacrosse because that's what he needed.
Yeah.
And it was the coolest thing ever because the parents were awesome. The boys were phenomenal, right? At the time I didn't have kids. And so I got to participate, and I didn't really know anything about lacrosse because where I grew up, I did not participate in sports. One of the coolest sports ever. I mean, they hit each other with sticks. I mean, it's just phenomenal. And so I planned on helping for like 3 months to get him through this period, and then fell in love with the sport, fell in love with the parents, and did it for several years. And I actually have some really great friends that I've made through that because of the moms and stuff from the program.
That is a great leadership story.
Yeah, it was. We had a great time. That's time.
Cool.
So,
anything else from Blaze you want to talk about?
Nope, just love it. So excited to be here.
All right, I'm going to show you some pictures from your Facebook.
Oh,
so this is nothing that's going to shock you, and I know I'm not the only one to comment on this. This first picture is spectacular.
Okay.
And it's your wedding day, right? Or is this your engagement?
So it's both. So Nick and I had originally scheduled an engagement photo session with Jeff White, who's an
he just did the Cyber Huntsville Gala pictures.
Yes, he did. He's jack of all trades, but I will tell you, he is a phenomenal wedding photographer, absolutely phenomenal, because people love him, and so he gets people to just be themselves, and that's when you get the most incredible photos. And so Nick and I had this idea that we wanted our engagement photos to be at SIP, the bar downtown. Mm-hmm. We had many times, not just us, but our friend group, that we had gone there for a drink and to hang out and whatever. Just absolutely love that bar. And then we had this wild idea that we just didn't want to wait. We did not. We knew we were together. We weren't. I mean, and it's forever, man. I will die before anything happens to him and I. And so I told Jeff, I was like, so about that engagement photo. We're going to actually sign some paperwork, and that's going to be our legal wedding date.
Actually, I got that picture too, but keep talking.
Yeah. And so we went downtown, and that's So fun fact, remember how I told you I've bought and sold a lot of houses?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Melissa Butler in that photo. And she is my mortgage broker who also used to clean my teeth at Dr. Pignatero's office many, many years ago. Another one of those friends that I have collected and just held on to forever. She had jokingly told me one time that if I ever needed to get married, that she was a notary. And so I called her and I said, "Hey, girl, what are you doing on Sunday?" And sure enough, and you can't tell because she's beautiful. She was like 7 months pregnant in this photo too. And she showed up and she was like, "Here I am, got my stamp ready to go." And it was amazing. We had the best day. And it was so sweet and sentimental, just the two of us. But we knew we wanted to have a big wedding because neither of us had one before. But we did not want to wait to get married. We were just so ready to start our lives together. So we did. We got married in the bar and then spent the next 7 months planning a large wedding and had a blast. And
you just got married, and didn't I? I think I talked to you the Monday after you got married or something?
Yeah.
Like, what'd you guys do this weekend? I got married. Oh.
Okay. January 17th.
That's
cool.
Cool.
At the Botanical Gardens, which was amazing. Absolutely incredible. So
I didn't bring those pictures in, but tell me about this shot in front of the cemetery.
Okay. So we wanted to do, Nick and I are kind of non-traditional in some ways. Mm-hmm. We like to be surprising. And at the time, I lived right up the street from Maple Hill Cemetery. It was my 5 Points house. It was on Wells, and I love that house. It was the house that I bought and then turned around and sold. And we had talked about just wanting something different. And so we had thought through where are the different places in Huntsville that are meaningful to us. And the reason this is meaningful to him is because remember that night that he left my house where we had eaten pizza and everything else?
Yeah.
He had to drive past the cemetery. And this is when he will tell you that he had realized he was in love with me, was that drive home. And so that cemetery, driving past it, became impactful for him.
I knew there was a story.
Yeah. It's a good one. Oh, Willow. So this is not my dog.
Someone else's dog?
This is someone else's dog that I borrowed. So I have a pit bull terrier who's 12, about to be 13, and I absolutely adore her. Her name is Ginger, but she has hip dysplasia, so she is not a very active dog. And I heard about this canine biathlon a couple of years ago and always wanted to do it. And so last year...
Dog's face on
I know, she's epic. The best dog ever. Listen, that girl pulled me up those hills multiple times. She was fantastic. So I asked a friend, and actually Chrissy here on the far left, who's got the American Pit Bull or the American Bulldog. She was my dog's foster mom. And so I met her when I adopted my dog, and her and I became really good friends. And so now whenever I travel, because we love to travel, go out of the country, she will keep Ginger for me. And so Ginger is her second dog. And she actually has several, but so she did it last year with her dog Stony, who's my dog's best friend, and then the Great Dane that is next to her is Prim, which is another friend's dog, so that's not her dog either. And then I borrowed Willow to do it. Yeah, and I'm doing it again this May. Yeah, and Willow is going to be my dog again. So.
And where was this?
It's down in like Anniston, Alabama, so it's not too far. It's about 4.5 miles. All kinds of different obstacles and things you're going over, things you're going under. As you could see, there's mud and things. And they do it in October too. I didn't get to do it this last October, but they do it backwards. It's the rewind. Ooh. So hopefully I'll get to do that this year too.
You need to do the Madison Academy Mud Run in April. It's a 5K and it's over there between, I guess it's John Paul II and Madison. Yeah. They have I guess they're like horse trails, like equestrian trails back there, but they proper muddy that place. It is so fun.
I did not know. I do really want to do a Tough Mudder too. I'm in the best shape of my life right now. Okay. I've been working with a trainer and absolutely adore her. Her name is Robin. She's a former Marine, and she's been kicking my butt in shape. And so one of the things I want to do while I'm in this shape of my life is a Tough Mudder too. So
do April 18th mud run at Madison Academy as a primer to that.
Okay, that sounds great.
You really should.
I will.
They're fun. And this is Ragnar.
That's Ragnar.
I was talking about the kills when you pass someone, they put them here. Is this your van or someone else's van? Must be someone else's.
I think it's someone else's. Yeah, that's someone else's.
I love the Sum 41 t-shirt.
Yeah, I got that. Went and saw them in concert in DC last year.
Did you really?
2 years ago now. Yeah. So big punk rock fan.
Oh yeah.
And that's Dana Del Duco, who I mentioned. I worked with her at England Reichman many years ago. The CPA firm that I ended up hating.
Yeah.
The work, not the firm.
Right.
And her and I have been friends ever since. And there's Megan and John. And oh my gosh. We had so much fun.
She's got
so
great
much
teeth.
fun.
Look at that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
She's got the most beautiful smile I have ever seen. Just absolutely. And I think it's part of her superpower because she can get just about anybody to do anything with that smile. So.
And then there's your whole team.
And there's our whole team. And that could have been you on that far left. And instead it's John, and the other John, because there was 2 Johns. But he was great too. We loved having him. So we really did have a lot of fun.
Well, I've had a lot of fun having you. And
yeah, thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
And again, like there's so many things I never even got to.
Yeah.
I wrote this question and you brought it up earlier, and we'll save it for next time. But I'm trying to remember how I wrote this. I said, I was going to ask you, how did you overcome at Dianetics? How did you overcome a potential lack of respect because you weren't technical?
Yeah.
And I love talking about that with people because I've always struggled with that. Like I'm managing software developers and I've never coded in my life.
Yeah.
Like how do you earn their respect and their trust? But it's interesting that you hinted at that, saying, yeah, we really need to bring on a technical deputy.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing that I have done in my entire history in the technical world and in any of the business things, I don't make shit up. Yeah. I don't. If I know, I know. And if I don't know, I have no problem saying I don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm eager to learn. And so, a lot of the technical things that I have been fortunate enough to work on, I knew nothing when I walked into the room. And I've looked at the engineer and said, teach me. Yeah. Right? What can I learn? How can I be of help to you? Right? Because a lot of times I'd be making these decisions that have real world impact, right? Where I have an engineer telling me one thing and I have a business person telling me other, right? So understanding what that means, right? And knowing I don't have an engineering degree. And so when this guy over here who has years of experience says this is what we should do and here's why, I need to be able to know that he knows what he's talking about, and then I need to trust him, right? And that's how I built my career, was understanding when to ask questions and when to know that I did not know the answer, right?
Yeah.
And I will always stand by that. I will not say that I know something when I don't.
Those are, yeah. And feed them lunch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Especially if they're younger engineers, always feed them lunch, but not pizza. They got sick of pizza pretty quickly.
That's too easy.
Yeah, you can't. It's got to be sandwiches or something. The best thing to do, actually, make a crock pot of chili.
There you go.
Oh my gosh, man! You want to get people to come to your office and talk to you. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Make that chili, man.
Any final thoughts or shout outs?
No, I don't think so. I mean, just thank you so much for having us, and thank you to Merritt, who made the connection between the two of us. Right? She's just been absolute godsend for me and for Blaze. We would not, I joke that she makes us look like we got our stuff together, right? So we do, but she makes us actually look like it, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
She's been absolutely incredible for us, and I'm really excited to see where we continue to go with this organization, not only with some of the government stuff, but a lot of the leadership development stuff. It's a really fun time to be in this space, and with things changing as fast as they are with AI, and looking at how do we calm some of those fears, right? And have people lean into what they're really good at, what their talents are. So it's good stuff.
Well, and thanks for sharing your story.
Yeah, absolutely. Very much appreciate it.
I just have, I love the state of Ohio and Pennsylvania as far as like their contribution to our country.
Yeah.
Even though like, from a competition standpoint, like you're like, Penn State and, Ohio State or whatever, right? Or like in wrestling, my son's schools would just get demolished by an Ohio team or a Pennsylvania team. But yeah, just thinking through and just like, I love to hear people's stories, and like, you could have easily not made it out of Youngstown.
Yeah.
And my wife is from a very poor town in Illinois, and a lot of people don't make it out. Yeah. Or if they do, they've got 4 kids by the time they're 23 and they don't have, whatever. And it's just a lot of things out there that, for you to rise up and to see and believe in yourself, right. And to trust others and overcome the things that could have held you back.
Yeah.
I applaud you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Congratulations
Thank
on
you.
your continued success.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right.
We're going to do this thing. We're going to make an impact one way or another.
Yeah, you are.
So.
And I'm glad to now know who you're all connected to.
Yeah. So. Well, not everybody yet.
That's probably true.
You've only got the small circle. We got to work on the bigger circle.
That's right. That's right. And I'll just interview everybody.
There you go. That's beautiful. Love it. I love it. Maybe one day we should have like a group podcast day. Right?
I do want you to sign my banner, though, before you leave.
Okay.
I keep forgetting to have guests do that. So
I will happily do that for you.
All right, Amanda Hooten, thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much.
Have a good one.
You too.